Good morning. Welcome to our service of worship on this last Sunday of June. June is the month we celebrate Pride, and today is extra special because today marks the 51st anniversary of the Stonewall Riots, an event that many consider to be the catalyst that really started the fight for LGBTQ rights. As an affirming congregation, Knox endeavors to be a welcoming place, a place where all people feel safe, feel loved, feel valued. Today's service is a collaboration of efforts of members of the Knox community and members of Kenora's LGBTQ community. And to everyone that contributed to this service, I give you thanks. When we all work together with love and support for one another, we get to see a glimpse of God's kingdom here on earth. And now, let us hold silence as the Christ candle and the Pride candle are lit.
Good morning to everyone who's with us today for our online Pride service. This week I spoke with digital artist Lauren Penner, who has a whole line of Pride buttons and stickers. I was struck by her work and asked if I could take pictures of some of her buttons to show you. Her buttons are playful dinos in a spectrum of colors and names that represent many of the colors of the Two-Spirit LGBT++ Pride community. Pride is the celebration of diversity. People come in all shapes and sizes, sexual preferences, colors, and gender identities. Pride celebrates Creator, God's diversity and playfulness. Just as flowers and animals are all different and colorful, so are people. Rainbows are a sign of pride because together we make up a human rainbow, and God delights in the diversity and color of us all. There is room for all in the shelter of God's wings. Let us worship together the joyous Creator who welcomes and delights in each of us in all our varied tones and shades.
Let Good morning, Church people. We celebrate Pride because we believe in diversity and that all people are created equal on this earth under the Lord's direction.
Amen.
I think not staying up for an in community is important because we need a leader in that area. I think all LGBT people have so many facets of who they are, and just having another space that you can go to be who you are is really important.
So, Meg called me the other day and asked me to speak about why it's important for Knox to celebrate Pride. In my Pride gear, her words, panic time because I have one Pride gear, a t-shirt. And for the last year, it's taken its place in the regular rotation of shirts out of my t-shirt drawer. Work, family stuff, chores, meetings, church, whatever. And it's starting to show its age. In spite of all the progress made over the last 50 years, our LGBTQ2S community is still a community that is marginalized, regarded with suspicion, and subject to bias, hate, and violence. It is paramount then that we let everyone know that we stand behind the Pride community, and Knox is a welcoming, safe, and inclusive space. We do that by celebrating Pride during the month of June and continuing from there all year round to create that safe and inclusive space in our community, in our church, and in ourselves. That's why I'll continue wearing my Pride shirt. We are all an equal and important part of a greater community, locally, nationally, and worldwide. Jesus left us with two great commandments, the second of which read, love everybody, period. We are all angels with one wing, and the only way we can fly is by embracing one another. Love wins. Happy Pride, Kenora. I love you.
On June 28, 1969, the LGBTQ community launched its own battle against status quo morality and systemic abuse by the police at a bar in New York City's West Village called the Stonewall Inn. On the night of June 28, 1969, the police showed up at the Stonewall Inn without warning. They physically assaulted the customers and arrested 13 employees and patrons who were in violation of liquor laws and a New York statute requiring gender-appropriate clothing to be worn in public. But that night, the 200 or so patrons weren't going down easily. They fought back, throwing bottles and bricks. The police barricaded themselves inside the bar and called for backup as the crowds outside tossed makeshift firebombs at the barricade. A few officers were injured and several patrons required medical treatment, but no one died or was critically wounded. Although the police managed to disperse the crowd after about an hour and the fire department put out the fires, the events of that night set off days of protests. Thousands joined in, and the demonstrations spread to the nearby Christopher Square and neighboring streets, with occasional bursts of violence flaring up. While the riots didn't immediately change anything for the LGBTQ community, it was a galvanizing force that inspired them to seek true equality. 1 year later, 50 years ago today, on the anniversary of the Stonewall riots, thousands of people marched from the Stonewall Inn to Central Park for Christopher Street Liberation Day, the first gay pride parade in the United States. In 2016, President Barack Obama designated the Stonewall Inn, Christopher Square, and the area around it as a national monument, recognizing their contribution to gay rights. In the 51 years since the Stonewall riots, there have been many advancements in the rights of the LGBTQ community, but they have been slow in coming, with most of them occurring only in the last 20 years, and there's still a long way to go. As the LGBTQ community continues to challenge political leaders and the courts for recognition of their rights and equality, we, the allies, can add our voices to the cry and let them know that they do not fight alone. We stand with them, side by side. When we think of all the ways in which the LGBTQ community has been alienated and marginalized, one can't help but look to our religious traditions and faith communities. The stories in the Bible that are the foundation of our religious traditions and faith communities are thousands of years old. They were recorded by people who were trying to make sense of the world in which they lived and trying to define a relationship with God as their understanding of the universe and the world they lived in allowed them. As our knowledge and understanding of the universe and the world in which we live has increased and expanded in the millennia since these stories were recorded, we have begun to look at these stories in a different light. While these stories may have made sense when they were written, they don't always fit to our current context. And, as many of these ancient stories have been directly harmful to the LGBTQ community, it is vitally important that we consider these stories in the context in which they were written, thousands of years ago, and realize that they don't fit within our current context. Our understanding of sexuality, gender identification, sexual orientation, and simply what defines us as people has evolved so much that it simply does not make sense to continue to apply beliefs and practices that are thousands of years out of date. To put it simply, we can no longer be classified by the packages we arrive in. We have to look deeper at the contents to determine our true identities. And everyone needs to be allowed to figure out who they are and live their lives as their true selves without fear of discrimination, violence, or hatred. As Doug mentioned, Jesus left us with two great commandments. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love others as you love yourself. So, as we celebrate Pride here in Kenora, may we all remember and live that commandment each and every day. Love one another. Amen.
Thank you. As we have gathered together today in worship, let us bring our hearts together in prayer now. Ancient God, we stop at this time and pause to collect our thoughts, to open our spirit to you, O God. You are eternal, and in that time you revealed yourself to us in many ways. And you're known throughout this world by many names. You've reached out to us and called us to enter that holy mystery, challenging us to be authentic with you, to be authentic with ourselves, to be authentic with others. You challenge us to treat others the way we would like to be treated, and to live at peace with each other. In our world of today, O God, this is not easy. We wear masks. We deceive ourselves into false thinking, which draws us away from that wholeness you call us into. As we make the journey through this world, help us to embrace the diversity and the uniqueness of each person. Help us to celebrate with others so they have a sense of belonging and community. With each step we take, help us to acknowledge your goodness in this world. The goodness we forget about in the midst of the distractions. Help us to share that goodness with those we meet each day. We pray for each of our own lives today, for each person listening to this service. In this moment of silence, speak to them, God. May they feel a sense of your holy awe and wonder at this very moment of time. Draw us closer to a deeper understanding of ourselves, to be authentic, to remove the masks we wear. Help us to meet our challenges without fear. Help us to live at peace with each other. We pray for those living in long-term care and their families, for the staff who keep the residents safe and well kept. Be that sense of strength and support to each of them with their helping hands. We pray for Kenora, our community, that people will respect and honor each other. We pray for the sick, the lonely, the homeless, the housebound. Find a way, God, to reach into their moments of life and let them know your presence and your power to heal and change. We pray for Michael and Michael in China, innocent people caught in politics. We pray for their safety and for their release. And we conclude this time of prayer with the ancient words saying together, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
I've never been the best at being. That doesn't mean I never be. I've never felt life was beginning, 'cause prologues are all I see. What do I have to do to be heard?
Happy Pride Month!
Happy Pride!
I always got a taste of freedom.
Happy Pride!
From Harvest Kenora.
Happy Pride from me and the biggest cat I think I've ever seen.
Happy Pride, everyone. I know we're all stuck inside of quarantine instead of going out and having a parade and having a massive party, but I hope everyone's still having a really great time this June, okay?
To be heard.
Happy Pride!
Happy Pride.
Show your true colors.
With love from the Kenora Arts Hub.
Celebrating Pride in the rehab department.
Be safe, everyone.
Happy Pride from the lab at Lake Lewis District Hospital.
Under my breath.
Happy Pride Month, everyone.
Where are you going to put your flags?
We're going to put them in the parade. We're going to walk down the street and back to show people we're proud.
I've always wanted to feel wanted, like everybody does. But I was trying to see
Love is love.
Love is love.
Happy Pride.
Pride lives in health education.
We're waiting for the Pride Parade.
Happy Pride, Kenora!
Pride lives in diagnostic imaging.
Happy Pride!
Happy Pride!
Month from the Kenora Youth Wellness Hub.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride, Kenora. We wish we were celebrating with you this year. Next year for sure.
I want to wish everybody out there in the LGBT community happy Pride.
Pride this year! Yay!
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride, Kenora!
To be heard.
Happy Pride, Kenora! Happy Pride!
'Cause no one
Love is love.
You are loved.
We're all in this together.
Sending you a hug.
Happy Pride Week, everybody!
Happy Pride, Wapsaman.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride!
Happy Pride, everyone.
Happy Pride!
Happy Pride!
Happy Pride, Kenora.
We love everybody.
Keep growing the pride in Kenora while we keep growing the pride in Brooklyn. Stay healthy, stay happy, and stay safe.
What do I have to do to be heard?
On behalf of the City of Kenora Council, I want to reach out and extend congratulations to everyone for your enthusiasm and your dedication to raising awareness of pride within our community. Thank you, and thank Kenora for being an all-inclusive community.
2020! Okay, so what are we actually saying?
Under my breath.